Anyone who knows me probably hasn't heard me shut up about Paul Wardingham since sometime around 2013, mostly because he's cool, and great, and Australian, and writes nice sci-fi music that fills the unyielding void in my soul. But today I want to talk about what might be his most interesting piece of music, Earth 2.0 from the Human Affliction album. It's big, it's cinematic, it's tuned to drop E, but most importantly, it's got some really clever harmony that we're going to go over as soon as the next sentence is over. So what's going on here? The main harmonic motif of the piece, which you can hear from the beginning, is made up of 5 chords: E major, C major, B flat major, E major again, and A minor, all over an E drone that helps glue the whole progression together. When we strip away the rest of the music and play the progression on its own, it sounds like this. What makes this progression so interesting then? Well, the surprises start right from the second chord, which some of you might recognize as every metalcore band's favorite chord other than one minor, flat 6 major. In this case though, our first chord was major, so not only are we not expecting this little piece of basic minor key harmony, but it also contains the flat 3rd and flat 6th from minor, G and C, chromatic half steps in opposing directions from the G sharp and B from the E major chord that make it sound like we've shifted into minor despite the fact that both of the chords we've heard so far are just big rich major chords. That's simple stuff though, easy modal interchange that every composer must make the requisite devotions and blood sacrifices to Brahms before using. The real spice happens when we hit that B flat major chord. What is it? A major chord a tritone away from the root? That shouldn't be allowed. Why does it sound so good? Can it really be that music theory is just a long list of names for sounds and that the rules only really apply when you're actively trying to emulate the precise sound of a particular historical period? Those of you who have studied some chord scale theory have probably been screaming the word Lydian since I wrote down that progression, and now that somebody has dusted off your pacifiers, I will tell you that yes, technically you're right, you smug little bastards. If we assume that we will be using Lydian over this chord, we can fill in the scale backwards and come to the conclusion that this chord is being derived from E Locrian, although I personally would add the G sharp to this scale for reasons including but not limited to the fact that it's the major third of the one chord that we're about to land on. Personally though, I find this explanation to be deeply unsatisfying because it doesn't really give a clear idea of why this chord is here in the first place. For that we're going to have to take a look at the context. So what we have here is a major chord moving by tritone to another major chord, which in turn moves by perfect fifth to G minor. Those incredibly clever viewers among us who have taken a second semester traditional harmony course might recognize this as the same kind of motion as a Neapolitan chord. A flat 2 major chord from Phrygian moving to the 5 and resolving to the 1, in this case 1 minor. So we could call this a Neapolitan of 4, a very standard piece of chromatic harmony being used in a non-standard way. The really useful thing to notice here is that these chords are a series of very tonal movements being used in a context that has absolutely no dominant tonic resolution. We only hear this as being in the tonal center of E because Wardingham insists on it. So not only can you borrow this progression on its own, but you can also take this philosophy of using progressions you're familiar with and abusing them in unusual ways to come up with colorful new sounds. Why don't you give it a try, see what you can come up with.